Summary of The Maze Runner by James Dashner. A young boy wakes up in the dark of an elevator. He doesn't remember anything except that his name is Thomas. When the elevator stops, the doors open, and Thomas sees about 50 young boys all around him. Albie, a boy in his late teens who is in charge of the group, is happy to see him in the glade. The glade is a big square piece of land with a few houses made of wood, concrete, and stone. It is surrounded by thick, ivy-covered stone walls that are very high. There is a small hole in each of the 4 walls around it. Over the next few days, Thomas finds out that behind the walls is the maze, which is a complicated building full of grievers. Grievers are dangerous robots that only come out at night and are very dangerous. The grievers can't get into the glade because the doors, which are the exits to the maze, close at night. During the day, some of the boys, called runners, try to find their way out of the maze. The lift brings a new man every month on the same day. But the lift comes back the next day with a young girl who is in a coma. The next day, Albie and a runner named Miho go into the maze to look into a report of a dead griever. Thomas sees Miho carrying an unconscious Albie toward the door a few minutes before the doors close. Thomas goes into the maze when no one else is around to help. The doors close behind him. Albie was stung by a griever, Miho tells him when they go inside. Thomas and Miho lead a group of grievers away from Albie and toward the cliff, which is the end of the road in the maze and looks out over an empty area. When the grievers come at them, the boys jump out of the way, which makes the grievers fall off the cliff. When they get back to where Albie is, it is morning and the doors are open. Albie's second in command, Newt, heals him by giving him the grief serum, which makes him change. Newt tells Thomas that the changing is a painful side effect of the serum that makes people remember some of their memories. In the days that follow, the girl, whose name is Teresa, wakes up and tells Thomas that the maze is a code. The sun also goes away all of a sudden, so the doors stay open at night. The grievers come into the glade the first night the doors stay open and take a boy named Gally into the maze. The gladers hope that each night, the grievers will only take one boy. The next day, Thomas uses the plans that the runners made of the maze to figure out that the maze's changing walls have been spelling out the phrase float, catch, bleed, death, stiff, push. Thomas gets stung on purpose by the grievers so he can go through the changing and get some of his memories back. This helps him figure out what the code means. After the changing, Thomas remembers that they need to put the code into a computer that is inside an unseen door in order to get out of the maze. They have to jump off the cliff to get to the portal. Thomas helps take a group of gladers with weapons into the maze after he has convinced them to go along with his plan. A group of grievers is waiting for them at the cliff. Albie gives himself up to the grievers because he thinks they will only kill one person each night. But his offering doesn't work, so the gladers have to fight the grievers while Thomas and Teresa go through the opening. Teresa puts in the code inside, which turns off all of the grievers. In the doorway, the gladers who are still alive meet Thomas and Teresa. They find a slide that leads to a huge building where they meet the people who made the maze. A woman in a lab coat that says Wicked and a guy in a hood walk up to the gladers. The woman tells them she's happy for them, but there's still one more test. When the man takes off his hood, it shows that his name is Gally. Gally throws a knife at Thomas, but Chuck jumps in front of it. Gally seems to be under some kind of mind control. Thomas is holding Chuck's dead body in his arms when a group of men and women walk into the building and shoot the woman. The gladers get on a bus with them and drive off into the night. On the bus, the unknown leader of this group tells the gladers that there was a terrible environmental accident outside the maze that caused a lot of people to get sick. Wicked wanted to raise children in the harsh setting of the maze so that they would be better prepared for the difficulties of the real world. The head says that what Wicked does is cruel and that her group fights to keep kids from being used in their trials. They take the gladers to a safe house where they can eat and sleep without being bothered. The book ends with an email from Ava Page, who is in charge of the maze trials. She writes that the rescue was a good ending and that part 2 of the experiment will start after the group gets a good night's sleep.
About the author. James Dashner was born and raised in a small town in Georgia. As a kid, Dashner read a lot of science fiction and fantasy books and wrote some of his first stories on an old computer that belonged to his parents. Dashner went to Brigham Young University to study accounting. After that, he worked briefly in business before deciding to write stories full-time. His books in the Jimmy Fincher saga and the 13th Reality series did okay, and then Dashner started writing The Maze Runner. The Maze Runner, his most famous book, was on the New York Times bestsellers list for a long time. Dashner published The House of Tongues, an adult horror book, in October 2021.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.